Revenge, warning, escalation. The Strait of Hormuz crisis is intensifying and more global powers are now stepping in. Welcome to TimesXP's War Report with me, Driti Atri. Well, Iran is angry, rather very angry, and this time the tension is no longer limited to the United States. With the US, countries like the UK, France, Japan and others, they are now being seen as part of the unfolding situation. And at the center of all is Strait of Hormuz. You know, the passage that is one of the most important oil routes in the world. Nearly 1/5 of the global oil passes through this passage every single day. So you can tell the stakes are rising rapidly, ships are under threat, insurance costs for tankers are climbing, and even a small disruption over here, it can send the global fuel prices soaring. From Asia to Europe, economies are watching this narrow waterway with great anxiety. Iran has been accused of targeting oil and gas infrastructure and disrupting this vital shipping lane, either directly or through any regional influence either. Then now, in response, a group of major nations including France, Britain, Germany, Italy, in fact Canada and Japan, they all have issued a joint statement. They have not declared war though or committed any military force, but they have expressed readiness to support appropriate measures to ensure safe passage for the commercial vessels. This could really include the intelligence sharing, by the way, naval coordination, surveillance, economic pressure. However, they stopped short of announcing troop deployment or directly involving their militaries, making the whole position very cautious but still strategically very important. But ladies and gentlemen, wait, this move, it is not just about maritime security anymore. It's also about deeply political motive. Donald Trump, the US president, he has been openly critical of allies, accusing them of not doing enough as tension with Iran escalates. Now, there is a joint statement. It kind of appears to be a calculated signal aimed at reassuring Washington that support is present, even if it is limited for now. And yes, at the very same time, these countries are trying to avoid being dragged into a full-scale conflict, balancing diplomacy with deterrence here. Now, let's flip the script. Let's see from Iran's perspective. This changes the whole equation entirely, right? What was seen once as a confrontation with the US, it is now becoming to look like a broader global alignment. Now, for Iran, even indirect support to the US efforts could be interpreted as hostile positioning. The stakes, they are raising. They are raising the risk of retaliation, not just against military targets, but also against commercial vessels, regional bases, critical infrastructure linked to allied nations. So the bigger concern now is escalation through miscalculation. A single incident, it can be anything, a seized tanker or missile strike or even a naval misunderstanding. It could spiral into a wider conflict. In the meantime, the global markets remain on the edge. Oil trade are reacting to every headline here, and countries dependent on Middle East energy, they are quietly preparing contingency plan. The key question now is no longer just about safety in strait, but about how far this whole crisis will actually spread. Will these nations remain cautious supporters, or will the pressure and events on the ground push them towards direct involvement? Because in a region this volatile, even a smallest move, it really can trigger consequences, and that too far beyond the Gulf region.